Hey everyone, Jason Verdelli with Phase 2 Solutions, and welcome to another episode of Experts on Issues. And today I have a very awesome guest, Andy Crestodina from Orbit Media. And we're going to be talking to Andy about basically your website and what mistakes you might be making with your website, what opportunities you might have with your website, and more importantly, we want to help you use your website as a tool to really grow your business. So Andy's going to talk with us today about this, and it's going to be, I think you're going to get a lot of great information in terms of some actionable items that you can take to really improve your website. So Andy, welcome to Experts on Issues.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Glad to be here.
So Andy, let's jump in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background. As I was preparing for the interview, I saw some background. I know you have you've written a book. I know you're very active in the speaking circuit, both locally in Chicago area, all the way nationally throughout the country to speak on the topic of digital marketing and website development. So tell us a little bit about background. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, in the mid '90s, I was just like obsessed with the concept of combining the creative side and the technical side. So I wanted to just do anything I wanted to do, any personal projects, do anything at all. And I started making interactive comic books, crazy idea, with a buddy of mine. He was my friend from high school and my roommate from college. I was a recruiter at the time, kind of a boring job. I wanted to make stuff, so I quit that job in '99. And starting in January of 2000, joined with Barrett Lombardo, and we started building websites together. The first company didn't go well. We had a partner that didn't work, and so it was in April of 2001. That we reincorporated as Orbit Media Studios. Most people don't know, but that's the name we used when we made interactive comics. Those silly claymation, pirate, like ridiculous CD-ROM Flash-based comics. I never looked back. So it's been 15 years. In that time, I've learned a lot about usability and conversion optimization. I learned a lot about analytics and search optimization. And then about 8 years ago, I started doing a lot of content. Since then, I've written the book. I speak at national conferences, as you mentioned. I do a lot of search and social and email and content strategy.
Great. So, Andy, let's jump in a little bit. It's 2015 as we're doing the interview. Of course, it's November, so it's going to be 2016 going forward. Time's flying. What are some of the main fundamentals in 2015, kind of your modern website versus maybe a website of 3 or even 5 years ago or even 10 years ago? What are some of the key factors, key fundamentals right now that people should be looking into with their website?
Sure. So I know that your focus is similar to mine. You're kind of a guy that's obsessed with lead gen and demand, right? The whole point, what's the point of the project? Why do people spend money on this stuff? Why do people spend time on this at all? It's because they're trying to get an outcome. Let's just say leads, although this could be donors for a nonprofit or members for an association or sales for e-commerce, all the same. We want the conversion. The conversion happens when you get two things. First, there are visitors to the site. Second, those visitors take an action. The first number is traffic. The second number is the conversion rate. So every action in your marketing should be designed to affect one of these two numbers, or don't do it, right? That's the whole thing. Marketers have a huge impact on traffic. Web designers have a huge impact on the conversion rate. So what maximizes the conversion rate? Why do visitors take action on websites? What are the differences between good and bad web in 2015 or any year that impact that conversion rate? Here's some examples. Are you specifically using color and imagery to drive attention to the message, the main message of each page? Too many websites have too many things. The focus is everywhere. There's things to click on that are blue and red and gold and green and black, and it's very confusing. You should also use imagery to specifically guide the eye to different things. Movement beats images every time. Images beat text every time. So you need to create pages that deliberately guide the visitor through a series of visual, through the visual hierarchy. Now, what this page has to do ultimately is answer the visitor's questions in the order that they have those questions, right? I believe this more than ever. It's the goal of a website to answer the visitor's top questions while building up credibility, and then finally convincing them to take action. So whatever the psychologies of that visitor, it has to go through those things in that order. First question is, why am I here? Am I in the right place? Here's a common mistake most people make. The headline is super vague. It's like, we're number one, or best in show, or we're the best service in this category. And then below that, in little letters, it says what you actually do. Total mistake, right? You got to flip those and put the business category, the service offering, as the most prominent thing. Make that the headline. For us, it's web design. For you, it might be social collaboration platforms. There's so many different things, right? That could be. That needs to be the most visually prominent thing. Now, guide the visitor down the page where their questions are answered, where you're adding social proof and evidence, where you're putting calls to action, making only one thing the most prominent thing at any given scroll depth. So you're just guiding, it's mind control, right? It's a Jedi mind trick. You're guiding the visitor through a series of pages or down one specific page that answers their questions, builds up credibility, and it offers compelling calls to action. That's the key to maximizing the conversion rate and building a better mousetrap.
Interesting. So, Andy, with that said, I know with the conversion and the adding imagery, adding motion wherever you can, obviously, is a really key factor. What are some of the mistakes that you see, or top 5 mistakes, or top 3, whatever you want to do there, that you find most companies making? I know you mentioned some of that in terms of switching headlines and everything. Mm-hmm. What are some of the mistakes they make from maybe a design perspective, or even from some additional mistakes from a content perspective?
Sure. Oh my God, there's so many. My last post went live yesterday. It was like 9 things you should remove from your website. Tons of them, right? I think PDFs don't belong on websites for the most part, not as primary content. Email links don't belong on websites. Those vague headlines I put in there. There's tons of things that really should not go on websites at all. Here's some common. I'll just give you 3. Here's 3, like that number. We'll just do 3 top mistakes. I think first of all, it's very common for people to not make the tough choice about what the main focus is on the page. Only one thing can be the most prominent thing. Don't keep adding stuff to the page. That's a very common mistake. Another common mistake is to make marketing claims without supporting them with evidence. Everything you say is marketing automatically. You can't help it. It smells like marketing. People smell it a mile away. So whenever you say something like, "We're good, this project, this service helps you, this platform's useful," you have to add in support, right? Years in business, number of users, bestseller, testimonials. Put testimonials in everywhere, right? Right next to the claim. Here's a tip. Never make a testimonials page. Nobody goes to testimonials pages. It's a waste, right? Put those throughout. Make every page a testimonials page. Finally, here's a classic one. I recommend strongly against having generic navigation. So many people have websites that it's like about, the navigation sounds like this: about, products, services, blog, contact. Yeah, 100 million websites have the same navigation as you. Why not be descriptive? It communicates quickly to visitors and it indicates relevance to search engines. Don't just say service, say web design. Say what you do. The phrase "what we do" doesn't say what you do. Get rid of that and say what you do instead. So generic labels, overcrowded pages that have no discipline about what's important, marketing claims with no evidence, or testimonial pages. Like, these are all big mistakes people make on websites all the time. Just think about it for 2 seconds. Oh, I'll give you one more. Big, and this is a pet peeve of mine. People always put these big candy-like social media icons in their headers, right? It's like a nice blue website with a dark colored background and a gray logo, like a classy site. And they've got like a big red YouTube button up in the corner. Do you really want people to click that? Why do you want your visitors to leave your website and go to a social media network? They're never going to come back. There's cat videos there, and there's competitors there, and there's ads. I mean, YouTube is experts at keeping visitors on their website. The click-through rate from YouTube to company websites is 0.7%. People are not. They click that. You made a giant exit sign. Would you design a store for your business that had a huge exit sign as soon as they walked in? Like, that'd be crazy. But people do it on websites all the time. Get rid of those big, colorful social media icons in your header. If anywhere, they should go in the footer and kind of gray them out until people roll over them. Where there's traffic, there's hope. You do not want your visitors leaving and going to a social network.
Interesting, and I see that a lot. It's a common. Hey, let's add the social networking buttons. If we have our social networking buttons up there, that's great. But at least like you said, tie that to a purpose. Maybe if you are trying to get them to maybe engage into a community, that's maybe where you want to send them that way. But at least you want to be able to capture them so they don't get lost in cat videos or whatever else that they're looking at. Um, so Andy, so we talked a little bit about some of the design. Let's talk a little bit about the development aspect or the platform of a website. When it comes to a company that says, hey, Andy, we get this, we're trying to make some enhancements to our website. At what point does a company, at what point should they work within what they have to try to improve what they have? Or what are some signs that they should maybe consider a whole new platform? Maybe it's a new open source platform, maybe it's WordPress, maybe it's Joomla, whatever. What is that kind of, should we overhaul or should we work within what we have? Type of decision?
Well, there's a point at which your website just needs to be thrown out. I mean, I had someone who once said to me, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I explained to her, no, it's time to throw the baby out and the bathwater. Web design is an evolutionary process as you manage content and publish new stuff and make videos like this one, and you're helpful for the world. That's great. But the day comes when it's time for a revolutionary improvement, and you need to burn it down and throw it out and start over. You might keep your content, your text, some of the high-ranking pages, of course, you need to make sure those get carried over to the new site. I'm very sensitive to SEO. But no, there's, the good lifespan for a website is 4, maybe 5 years. At that point, you should be planning to completely redesign your site. That's when you can consider the platform. There's minor pros and cons across platforms. Mostly content management systems are, if you're not paying a license fee, there's a lot of, I don't think there's huge winners and losers right now. Some of them are more difficult than others. One advantage of WordPress is so many people know it. It's easier to find a new team member if you're growing or there's turnover. Find someone who knows WordPress already. But yeah, I mean, if you know a tool, there's a benefit to keep using that tool, as long as it's not slowly becoming obsolete, like something based on Cold Fusion, or it's not something you pay a high license fee for, like something based on .NET. I would try to just look for something that's your basic criteria. It's easy to use, and it's the design. It doesn't tie you down in terms of options for flexibility for content and design. And finally, it's not expensive.
Right. Well, and with that decision, is there certain platforms that you would recommend for in certain, or certain, can you give me maybe certain examples of maybe why you would use maybe WordPress versus maybe another type of platform, just to give people a framework as to what they should be expecting with some of the choice of platforms?
Sure. Well, it's you can do almost anything in any platform. There are huge websites. I believe CNN.com is based on WordPress in some way. WordPress is great for things that are customized more configured more than customized. You can build things very quickly and efficiently in WordPress if you pull off-the-shelf plugins for yourself. If you go to a more custom approach, then really, think of it this way. Like Drupal is like an enterprise level thing. There's big enterprise level content management systems. If WordPress is IKEA, Drupal is Home Depot. There's you can get down to tiny bits and pieces and parts and make something crazy custom that does exactly what you want it to do. As long as that offers real utility to your audience, there might be ROI in spending the extra money to do that. If your site is mostly just displaying content, building search optimized pages, taking visitors through a series of messages where they get more confident, more trusting, and more likely to act, you maybe don't need something huge. WordPress is great for people that need to manage content easily. Drupal's good for sites with multilingualism, international websites, families of domains, sites with workflow management where you've got several editors involved in a process for publishing a piece of content. Multi-currency e-commerce, these are things where you need like a Magento or a Drupal instead of like a WordPress with WooCommerce.
Yep. That's okay. That's great. I mean, I think some of the for a lot of people that are out there, and I know just talking with a lot of people, they need to know some of those examples, or it's good to know some of those examples. So when you hear this, or they're talking to your company about moving on the website, they have some of a framework to work with. So that's great. So Andy, moving on to our last question here is, what are some of the steps that you would recommend a company taking to that's looking to make enhancements, or that's looking to overhaul the website? In terms of actually getting it done, what would you recommend them doing with, whether that's, within your company or just in general?
Sure. Oh man, it's a great question. It's a hard question too, because people that have a site that they want to enhance or change, if you don't have a relationship with the company that built it, very hard to get people to work on something they didn't build, right? It's always going to be more efficient and faster to work with whoever designed the site to begin with. So let's say, so when you choose a web design company, pick someone who's got a support process. They've got a helpline. They've got a staffed team that helps people post-launch. That's, if you say, who can I talk to in 2 years when I need an enhancement? If their answer is, oh, you can just keep talking to me. Whoa, back up. That's risky, because that person you're talking to now is going to be super busy working on the next project. They need a support team in place. That's graduation day for a web company. Now, if you're redesigning a site, okay, you've got a partner, they've got a process. You get a demo of the process. If you're considering changing content management systems, get a demo of the CMS. And here's some things you should hear when you hear them describe their approach. We do everything on site and in-house. Great news! They're not going to outsource things. They just took risk out of your project. We can help you with hosting. Great news! They're gonna set you up. That just took risk out of your project. We take you through a process where we research keywords before making a sitemap. Great news. They're going to make the site search engine friendly. They understand how Google works. We're going to do wireframes and mood boards before we do design. That's great news. They're going to show me the structure. They're going to design it to convert visitors. They're going to take the visitor through a process. So you're really looking for evidence of strong service. They've got a support team. Everything's done in-house. They've got project management. And you're looking for evidence of strategy. They're going to build the site specifically to get traffic and convert leads. That's the difference between good and great web design.
That's great. I think what you emphasize there too is the service aspect and the process aspect. A lot of your individual developers might have a certain process or whatever. But again, I've just working in the industry, and this is sort of a little bit of my area of expertise is, that developer also can get busy. Maybe they take on new clients. So it is good if you need to maybe have somebody that's, maybe more in-house that can almost, be a part, almost an extension of your staff. But if you're kind of, if you are outsourcing it completely and relying on remote support and everything like that, you do have to have a team in place for that. So that's great. Mm-hmm. So Andy, tell me a little bit about Orbit Media, maybe just to finish up here, a little bit of the process that your company takes. I was super impressed with, and I've seen a lot of web development companies, been in the industry for 10 years. And quite honestly, between your website and how you guys present, how your company presents itself and the process and everything, I was very super impressed with that. So tell us a little bit about how you do things at Orbit Media and how somebody can take advantage of your service to help them out with their website. Sure.
Well, we're known for our marketing, which is a bit ironic because we're not a marketing company. But the best web design companies talk like marketers. They explain to you how Google works. They understand domain authority and search engine rankings. They understand psychology and conversion optimization. They understand analytics and ROI. So if you read our blog, and that's how most people know about us is through our content, you'll see lots of practical how-to tips. I sometimes joke that if we built cars, we would also teach driver's ed. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just unload all the good advice, everything I know, everything I can help people with through our blog, which is in the newsletter, which is every other week. That's a good way to keep in touch with us or to hear our latest is orbitmedia.com/blog. We publish every other week. We're not going to overload your inbox. But basically, yeah, we're a 38-person web design company. We're focused mostly on Chicago. We win awards. We run a conference of our own. It's called Content Jam. And we do lots of stuff like this. I mean, it's just however we can help, whoever we're partnering with. I love collaborating on content and on pieces like this, and whatever we can do to help whoever we meet. So, Jason, you're one of those people. Hopefully, this is the beginning of lots of good stuff. Exactly. Well, and it's a key thing too, I think, is also, if you're working with somebody on strategy, and the one thing I've always helped a lot of companies over the past 10 years in terms of strategy and knowing where to, hey, this isn't my area of expertise. This is where we need to bring in,
an actual web development firm that has a process in place. And I think for a lot of consultants out there that are in the digital space, it's understanding what your strengths are and when you need a process, and also when you need to bring in a process without having to, worry about an overhead of 30, or worrying about the payroll of a 38-person firm or more. And that's really where I think a lot of consultants and strategists in the industry should really be paying attention to that. So, Andy, this has been great. Any other closing remarks you want to make before we finish up?
Anyone who sees this anywhere is always welcome to connect with me on any social network. And also, I appreciate the invitation, Jason. Looking forward to connecting with you and collaborating on some content or networking together. Hopefully, this is the beginning of many things.
Exactly. So, Andy, again, thank you for coming on Experts on Issues today. And again, you can check out Andy with Orbit Media at orbitmedia.com. Again, a lot of great information there. You can get a link to his book. You can also get a link to his
I forgot to mention. Yeah.
Oh,
Content Chemistry, the illustrated. I finally put a copy next to me. It's an illustrated handbook for content marketing. So lots of charts and diagrams. It's everything I know about content marketing. It's easy to find. It's on Amazon and everywhere.
So it's real.
It's an actual book. It's a book.
Because usually, a lot of times you have the books that are out there and everything, but they're ebooks with just or they're usually ebooks with the graphic and everything, but they don't actually get it published. So.
No, it's printed. It's a $12 business card. I recommend, or whatever it is now, $20 on Amazon. Check it out.
Awesome. Andy, thanks again. Be sure to check out, again, expertsonissues.com. We're going to have more interviews coming up here soon. So be sure to check back at that website. Again, that's expertsonissues.com, which is a segment of phase2solutions.net. And everyone, thanks for watching.